If you're watching this video, it's safe for me to assume, I hope, that you're considering starting some form of a short-term rental. Airbnb, Vrbo, whatever the case may be, and you're not sure if it's worth it or not. And I don't want to wait until the end of the video to tell you this, but it can be a great business. It's not for everyone. I will say that now. It is not for everyone, but it can be a great business as long as you know what you're getting into. So let's get started. Question number 1, will it be worth it? Very interesting question, because the answer I really can't provide, and only you can provide that. And the reason I say that is you really have to think about why you're starting this business, why you're starting this side hustle, whatever it is that you want to consider it to be. I'm going to turn this question back around to you. What would this business have to look like for it to be worth it for you? Would you be making extra money? How much money does that look like for you? And you want to make sure that you don't spend too much time on this. Well, how much time are you willing to give? Take some time to think about your personal goals. Where did this initial thought to start this Airbnb come from? Go back to that. Why are we thinking it? What is the purpose? Is there something else that may be more aligned with that purpose? Or are you still getting the calling to, I think that this Airbnb thing is worth a shot? Another question that is so popular is, how much money can I make? It's not a very simple answer for you. There are so many factors that go into place when determining how much money you're going to be able to make, because it really goes based off of your nightly rate, right? How much are you charging per night? And if you're living somewhere in New York, Manhattan, definitely going to be much different than, let's say, Providence, Rhode Island. It's not a simple, this is how much you can expect to make per unit. Really depends. So for that, I do want to walk you through exactly what I do in order to determine how much money I might be making if I am to add a property in a specific location. So let's say, for example, that you're thinking about starting an Airbnb in New York City. Now, to get started, obviously, we want to head over to airbnb.com. This is just a regular setting, viewing as a guest. Now, what we'll do here is you'll go roughly about 5 months out than your current date. I will go over to, let's say, the first week of November, and you're going to select from Tuesday to Thursday. And the reason being is most hosts require a 2-night minimum. The reason why I'm selecting in the middle of the week is because most of the time weekends get booked quite fast. So you do want to see as many stays as possible so that you can use them in your research. So that's why I'm clicking from Tuesday to Thursday. Now in these other sections, such as who and the amenities and such, you're really going to want to select based off of the stay that you have in mind. So for example, if you're thinking about starting an Airbnb in New York City, that's going to be a 1-bedroom. Safe to assume that that's going to be about 2 adults. So we'll select search here. And what you want to do is you'll take a look at the map, right? And you want to start off by looking at stays that are relatively close to you. So let's say, for example purposes, that your stay is right over here. Okay, so clearly we have quite a few different options that we can look at. Now, what we will move on to is we're going to be looking at all of the different options and comparing them to each other, but most of all comparing them to what you believe that you want to start or what you have in mind. So for example, some of these are going to have a nice city view. So if your stay has a view, you want to make sure that you're looking at other stays that also have a view. I like to look at all the price ranges. So if we take a look at, let's use this one. That's $14.61 for 2 nights. Once you find a few listings, I typically like to go anywhere from 3 to 5 at minimum. The more the better. We don't want to go more than 10. I'd say I'd set the limit for you. But you definitely want to make sure that you're finding something that's going to be very similar to your listing. So in this fake listing that we're setting up in New York City, this is very similar to it. So what you'll do is you're going to go to the check-in, check-out dates. and you're going to go all the way to where you currently are. Now, you will see dates that are crossed out. Now, as I mentioned, any dates that are crossed out prior to today's date means they're unbookable. So we're not really going to take those into consideration. What we are going to take into consideration is all of the days after that. Now, I do want to point out that this is not 100% because the host could very well be crossing these days out for themselves or for whatever other reason, but it is safe to assume, at least for now, that these days are crossed out due to bookings. So we can see for the month of June, it looks like they're booked for about 2 weeks and a day. For July, there's quite a few days. August, just a weekend. September, looks like September is a little bit busier for them. October looks to be pretty booked there. So what you want to do is take a look and get an idea as to how often they're being booked. With that information, taking into consideration their nightly rate, which can be found by clicking this here, it's about $7.31. So what you'll do is you'll get an average of the amount of days that this is booked. So let's say, for example, let's start with July. There's 8 days in July, 3 days in August, 9 days in September. Now you'll average these days that they currently have booked to get a rough estimate as to how much money they're potentially making with the nightly rate that they have. Now, another reason why it's important to look at multiple is, as you can see with the one that we just looked at, they are charging over $700 a night. Now, you want to be mindful because, especially with this example, we're looking in New York. So there is a lot going on, one, and two, there's a lot of hotels that post on Airbnb in New York City. And a hotel and an Airbnb are two different things. So make sure that if you're not in a hotel, you're not comparing it to one that is a hotel. This one here is a bit further than our desired location. However, it does have a much different nightly rate, as you can see. And it's still offering a window view. So this is actually a great example because this home, or rather this loft, is charging for 2 nights less than what the other one was charging for one. And as you can see, they're clearly booked much more often. This really emphasizes why it's important for you to look at multiple, because as you can see, one that is super kind of high end regarding price at $731, not as booked as one that is charging $343 per night. So you'll do the same exact thing here, going into the bookings, seeing how many nights they're booked a month, get an average on that using the nightly rate. Once again, go back and look for another unit that's going to be similar to those two. With anything that I personally get myself into, I always ask myself, what's the quickest way that I can get out of this? And when it comes to Airbnb, it's fairly simple. If it's something that you're concerned about and still just wanting to get your toes wet, what I would definitely recommend is not allowing guests to book for anything 12 months out. As an example, you can change that to 24 or whatever you feel as though may be appropriate for you. That's one thing that if you're, kind of just testing it out, guests are able to book ahead of time and guests will book ahead of time. So if it's something that you just want to kind of get an idea for, say a few months or maybe just a year, you will block that out. Very simple. If you have no bookings, no reservations, and you just want to unlist your listing, that's something that you can do very easily with the click of a button. The other pieces behind that you may want to take into consideration is if you're renting, that may be a little bit more of a stickier situation depending on the kind of lease that you're in, which is why I mentioned in my previous video that if you are thinking about renting a property, something that you may want to consider is doing something month to month. This way, if you've decided that it's not something that's working out and you want to get out of it as fast as you can, you have that month-to-month lease. And another question that I get is going to be, how much time should I put in? You get out what you put in, right? So if it's something that you're not looking to put too much time and effort to, I wouldn't expect it to be anything great and large. Not to say that it wouldn't happen. Of course, things happen all the time, but just to set proper expectations. I'd say the more time that you put into it, the more that you will see that reflect in your stay. When it comes to the amount of time that it's going to take for this business, it depends on how much you're looking to be involved, how much you're looking to outsource versus doing yourself. Take all those things into consideration. To close this all out and helping you determine if starting an Airbnb is something that you should do, I hope that me going through the frequently asked questions that I get as an Airbnb host has kind of helped you out in understanding that there's a lot of gray area for a lot of these questions, or what these questions are really having you do is reflect back to yourself and asking yourself more of those detailed questions and understanding what your purpose is to help you determine, is this something that is going to make sense for you? And I do want to thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. As always, like if this video helped, subscribe to the channel, and if you have any additional questions that you feel like would be helpful for me to touch upon, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to help out where I can. Thanks for watching.